I'm going to tell you a true story about two men. The first man, Richard Fosconi, was the picture of success. He went to Harvard. He earned an MBA from the prestigious University of Chicago. He climbed the ranks of the financial world to become a top executive at Merrill Lynch. He was so successful that he retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. He lived in a lavish 18,000 square foot mansion with 2 swimming pools, 2 elevators, and 7 garages, paying over $90,000 a month just in upkeep. The second man, Ronald Reed, was the picture of a simple life. He grew up in rural Vermont. He fixed cars at a gas station for 25 years and swept floors as a janitor at JCPenney for 17 years. His friends knew him as a frugal guy who drove a second-hand car and used safety pins to hold his coat together. He lived in the same small house for his entire adult life. One of these men died with a surprise $8 million fortune, leaving most of it to his local hospital and library, shocking everyone who knew him. The other, despite his Harvard education and incredible income, saw his fortune crumble and declared bankruptcy. Which one do you think was which? The answer to that question reveals the single most important lesson in personal finance. Financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill. How you behave is far more important than what you know or who you know. Today, we're going to dissect the incredible stories of the millionaire janitor and the bankrupt executive and uncover the behavioral secrets that truly build wealth. Let's start with Ronald Reed, the janitor. How did a man with a modest blue-collar income accumulate an $8 million fortune? He didn't win the lottery. He didn't have a secret, high-paying side hustle. He didn't have a complex algorithm for picking stocks. His secret was far more powerful and far more accessible to all of us. For decades, Ronald Reed did 2 simple things. First, he lived frugally, saving every dollar he could. He wasn't cheap. He was simply unconcerned with impressing other people. He had defined his own enough, and it was modest. This created a significant gap between his income and his expenses. Second, he took those savings and, consistently, patiently, invested them in blue-chip, dividend-paying stocks. And then, he did nothing. For decades. He let his investments sit. He let them compound. His genius was not in finance. It was in his temperament. The ingredients to his success were patience, discipline, and a time horizon that spanned his entire adult life. He never earned a huge income, but he had an extraordinarily high savings rate. He never got spectacular overnight returns, but he allowed the slow, quiet magic of compounding to work, uninterrupted, for more than half a century. His success was purely behavioral. Now let's look at Richard Fosconi, the Harvard-educated executive. He was a brilliant man who understood finance at a level Ronald Reed never could. He earned an income that was likely hundreds of times larger than Reed's. So how did he end up broke? His failure, just like Reed's success, was also purely behavioral. Fosconi got rich, and then he took on massive amounts of debt, leverage, to get even richer, faster. He used that debt to expand his already lavish lifestyle and make concentrated bets. In good times, this leverage amplified his gains and made him look like a genius. His massive mansion was a symbol of his success. But when the 2008 financial crisis hit, the same leverage that had amplified his gains on the way up, amplified his losses on the way down, with catastrophic speed. The value of his assets plummeted, but his debts remained. He was wiped out. His need for more, his overconfidence, and his lack of a margin for safety led to his ruin. So what does the story of these two men teach us? It teaches us that the game of money is not primarily a game of intelligence. If it were, Richard Fosconi would have died one of the richest men in the world, and Ronald Reed would have died with nothing. Instead, it's a game of behavior. It's about your relationship with greed and fear. It's about your ability to be patient in a world that demands instant gratification. It's about your humility in the face of a future you cannot predict. Ronald Reed won because he mastered the few behavioral skills that truly matter. Let's break them down, because these are skills anyone can learn, regardless of your income or your education. First, humility and a high savings rate. Reed lived below his means, not because he was forced to, but because his ego didn't require him to display wealth. He understood that wealth is the money you don't spend, This created the surplus capital that was the seed of his fortune. Second, patience that bordered on obsessive. The real magic in Reed's portfolio happened through compounding, which, as we've discussed, is a force that only reveals its true power over very long periods of time. He gave his investments the one thing they needed most: decades of uninterrupted time. He wasn't trying to get rich next year. He was slowly building wealth for a lifetime. And third, an aversion to ruin. Ronald Reed never took on debt. He never made huge, concentrated bets. He never put himself in a position where a single market downturn could wipe him out. He prioritized survival above all else. Richard Fusconi, the financial expert, focused on maximizing his returns. Ronald Reed, the janitor, focused on not losing. In the long run, the survivor is the one who wins. This is the most empowering lesson in all of finance. You do not need an Ivy League degree to become wealthy. You do not need a 7-figure salary. You do not need to be a genius who can predict the future. Those things can help, but they are not prerequisites. They can even be a disadvantage if they lead to the kind of ego and overconfidence that destroyed Richard Fusconi. The tools for building wealth are available to every single one of us. They are not found in complex financial models or exclusive investment banking circles. They are found in your daily habits, in your ability to control your impulses, in your patience to let a good thing grow, in your humility to know that you don't need to impress anyone. The stories of the millionaire janitor and the bankrupt executive are a powerful reminder that in the game of money, the person with less education, less income, and less glamour, but with more discipline and a longer time horizon, can, and often will, win. You have more control over your financial destiny than you think. You just have to realize that the game is played not in your head, but in your heart and in your habits.